What's up, my fellow ladies? It's Savvy, your straight aunt from the 50s. Normally, regular Savvy's here, and she's your gay aunt from the 80s, but she's not here today.
Because I killed her.
And because I'm so straight today, I decided that I would make an entire video
All about other women's bodies.
I, in fact, am personally offended every time I see cleavage. Otherwise, if I weren't offended every time I see cleavage, that would be pretty gay. It also has to do with the fact that women can't be empowered if they're themselves. As a real musician, which you know I am because I have music notes all over my dress. I wouldn't have music notes on my dress if I were a fake musician. Because I'm a real musician, I'm an authority on what counts as music and what doesn't. If you're a female and you decide to become a rapper, that means you're not a real musician. Rap isn't real music because only classical music is real music, because only classical women are real women, obviously. So if you decide to become a female rapper and you go up on stage and shake your A word everywhere and talk about your P word, that's not empowering. In fact, that's very degrading to women because, again, as your straight aunt, I hate other women's bodies. I, as a very, very heterosexual woman, hated seeing those other women in that music video so much that I could not turn it off. And if you want to be a true straight aunt from the 50s like me, clicking away from a music video is not an option. You just can't do it, because in the 50s we all had to watch music videos every day. It was required. And finally, if you want to be a straight aunt from the 50s like me, you can't be afraid of being told you have internalized misogyny. Having internalized misogyny is a good thing. You should hate other women, because you should love men. And if you love men, you can't also love women. There's only enough room for one love. You can only love one thing, and that's men. And you can only love one man, and that's the man that you're married to, and you didn't let him see your P word before you were married. And if you ever defend women or women's rights to do whatever they want with their own bodies, that's really gay, and you should go back to being with Savvy, your gay aunt from the 80s, because classically Savvy doesn't want to deal with you. Alright, y'all, quick disclaimer, that introduction was a joke. That was a joke about me, Savvy, your gay aunt from the 80s. It was not a joke about, it was a joke about classically Abby in the sense that she really cares about what other women do with their bodies, but I don't think she's gay. She's not gay. You know, I'm never gonna come out here and say that someone else is gay. I just wanted to make a joke. That's a joke. Has everyone internalized that it's a joke? Because sometimes when you make jokes on the internet, people don't want to accept that it's a joke, okay? Classically Abby is a very beautiful, feminine, straight woman, and I respect her for that. Genuinely. That is genuine. That's my disclaimer. Please take that to heart. Please don't cancel me, daddy. What's up, my fellow small business supporters? It's Savvy. I'm dressed up like your straight aunt from the 50s again because we're gonna react to Classically Abby.
Hit you some nuts.
There was lots of memes.
Makes me wonder if I should pick up lesbianism.
Chicago. You guys asked for it.
The reason I decided to make another video on Classically Abby is actually a few reasons. The first reason is that, y'all, this keeps happening because I'm not a full-time YouTuber. So sometimes I'll post something, I'll get something ready, I'll get the premiere scheduled, and then something that would have been perfect to discuss in that video just suddenly comes out after the fact. Probably the biggest example of this is when I made my video about J.K. Rowling being, and then like 2 hours after the video went live, suddenly J.K. releases her giant manifesto. So all of my comments were like, Savvy, did you see the TERF manifesto yet? And it's like, guys, the video came out first. I don't know what to tell you. So what happened was, right, I was talking about how Classically Abby is Ben Shapiro's sister. And I inserted clips of Ben Shapiro being ridiculous, but that was before we had
in this house. There's some in this house. There's some in this house. There's some in this house. Wet ass P word. Make that pull-out game weak. Some wet ass P word. P word is female genitalia.
I am hoping that after Abby has been on the internet for a little while, that she becomes a feminist, because the internet will turn you into a feminist if you weren't already. Here's why. And just to be clear, what happened here that I'm going to explain, I don't think this is a good thing that Abby was treated this way. I think that all women need to be treated with respect and treated with healthy boundaries and not when they don't want to be. But Abby goes over here on the internet making her video that I reacted to last time about why we should dress modestly and how dressing modestly means dressing in a way that doesn't you, that doesn't attract the wrong kind of attention from men, as if women have control over what men are thinking or how they're going to react. And I basically said in that men are, not all men obviously, but a lot of men out there are going to find ways to as women no matter how you dress, right? And Abby seemed to think that women through our clothes have some kind of control over how men view us. But then Abby tweeted some pictures of her in modest clothing. She's in like a traditional housewife looking dress in the kitchen, looking very pretty. Now, when I saw this picture, I was like, that's modest. Yep, very modest. Looks nice. Good for you. But just as an example of how it's not women's fault, you can dress that modestly like how Abby was there, and you're still gonna get men who look at her feet. The foot came for her, which I am not okay with. Like, that's y'all, don't go on Twitter finding a woman standing in her kitchen being like, damn, I wish I was that floor. No, don't do that. That's rude. But anyway, my point is she dressed in what she said was a way that doesn't herself. And she didn't as herself, but the foot her anyway because they were being gross. So that's my whole point, Abby. I'm hoping this was a lesson in the fact that women, this is not in our control. So now we are going to react to a few of Abby's videos regarding how she feels about women and women's bodies and how much control women have over their own lives. Abby, if you're watching this video, which I don't think you are, but if you are, I'd love to debate you, like genuinely. And just so everyone knows, again, my comment section, my videos, they're a place for everyone to talk about their ideas. If I disagree with you, I'm gonna argue with you because this is my comment section and I can argue with you. Abby, I would love to sit down with you. I would like to have first an interview where we go over point by point what your actual views are because I'm confused about what your beliefs are politically. And then from there we can debate. I think we might find some common ground in some places. I don't know. I haven't watched these videos yet. All right, so we are going to react to "We should not #believe all women. This movement has major problems." So I've seen a few people saying this video is really hard to watch. Let's find out. Let's see what happens.
Hello, beautiful ladies, and welcome to today's video where we're going to be talking about why #believe all women is a problem.
Okay, tell me.
I want to start off this video by saying I don't think that these issues are easy. I don't think that we should take lightly, and that for women who go through this, it's incredibly painful and it's really difficult to know how to deal with it. So I'm not at all downplaying that. I don't want to make anyone feel like this is an attack video on women who do come out and say that they've been through something.
Real quick, somebody had told me in the past that I paused Abby too frequently. I want to address that real quick. First of all, I have to pause her a lot so that I don't get copyright claimed. And second, I'm trying to react to what she says as she says it. I can go back and like edit things out if if one of the things she says later refutes my point earlier. Right now, so far, her introduction to this, she hasn't really made a point yet, so I have nothing to argue with. Continue.
Still look at the #believe all women movement as a problem. And I want to talk about why. There are two reasons that #believe all women is a problem.
I don't like her stance on this, but I like her approach to this. She has two reasons. So she's laying out a roadmap from the start. There's going to be two reasons she delves into. So when she lays out the first reason, I will tell her if I agree or disagree and why, and the second reason. Let's see. I hope she goes into detail about these two.
1, it's a lie. And 2, even if it were true, it shouldn't be.
Okay. I know she's about to elaborate on these points, so I'm not going to go too hard on her right now, but laying out, those are not really two reasons. That's just kind of a reiteration of what you already said, and that's very vague. So she's like, 1, it's a lie. Believe all women, first of all, is an imperative statement. An imperative statement can't be a lie. Like if I said, go make me dinner, you can't say that's a lie. Because that doesn't make sense. An imperative statement is you requesting something of someone else. So it's a lie. That's just like logically that doesn't make sense. And second of all, to say if it's true, it shouldn't be. So do you mean if it's true in that we should believe all women, if we should, we shouldn't. I'm really confused. I know she's going to go into more detail, so let's see what she has to say.
Let's deal with number one first. It's a lie. Hashtag Believe All Women started after Brett Kavanaugh was nominated for the Supreme Court.
Didn't it start before that? I could be wrong. I thought it started before that. I thought it started with like the Me Too movement with like Harvey Weinstein and Hollywood and all of them. Also, I thought the popular hashtag wasn't Believe All Women. It was just hashtag Believe Women, which makes a huge difference. But anyway, continue.
Tons of women came out and said that he had Christine Blasey Ford being at the forefront of all of this.
Okay.
A lot of people did not want Brett Kavanaugh on the Supreme Court.
Okay. That's fair. I didn't want him on the Supreme Court either. Whether or not you want him, this is, I might get demonetized if I go into this. Because this is not a right-wing or left-wing thing. This has nothing to do with politics. Y'all, I've been shouting from the rooftops. A lot of people haven't always believed women when it's inconvenient. A prime example, when multiple women have accused Joe Biden of I believe those women. And I think everyone should give them the benefit of the doubt. Now, someone's going to come at me and be like, I believe them too. You can have more than one rapist in the world at a time. I'm already going to get demonetized for saying that word in this. But you can have more than one rapist at a time. And more than one can be a politician. In fact, I would say that's statistically quite likely. So when I believed Dr. Ford against Brett Kavanaugh, I didn't want him on the Supreme Court, but that was irrelevant. Even if it had been someone that I thought would have been a great fit for the Supreme Court, I still would have believed her. So that's my reaction to that, but please continue.
But people on the left still said hashtag Believe All Women. All women should be believed, no matter what the evidence says.
I'm pretty sure it's hashtag Believe Women. Hold up, I'm checking Twitter. Believe All Women seems to mostly be a hashtag of people critiquing Believe All Women, so I'm pretty sure this is a straw man. I'm pretty sure Believe Women is the hashtag. Yes, Believe Women is an actual case. Yes, okay. So, Abby, Believe Women is not a hashtag saying that means no woman has ever lied about. That's not what this is saying. Believe Women is saying when women come forward with a story, listen to them, believe them, assume that what they're saying is true. That doesn't necessarily mean believe that the other party is guilty. It means take their story seriously. That's what Believe Women means. If it were Believe All Women, if it were saying all reports of sexual assault are always need to have a trial, that would be ridiculous. I agree. But that's not what it says. Believe Women is because historically when women have come forward and said this very powerful man who is going to have control over the law, over the country, over whatever, has done something horrible to me and I don't want it to happen to other women as well and it has traumatized me. In the past, a lot of times that would be brushed aside as she was probably asking for it, she was too emotional, whatever. And women's stories have been doubted. This also isn't a right or left issue. I've mentioned this before, I'm not a conservative or a liberal. I'm your gay aunt from the 80s and that's it. Or today I'm your straight aunt from the 50s. I don't believe in political sides. I believe in certain policies and certain issues, and believing women when they come forward with these stories is one of them. And I think boiling it down to right or left leaning is reductionist, and I don't like that.
No matter that there should be due process, we should throw due process out the window.
No one said to throw due process out the window. Okay, Abby, you're, I guess, extrapolating. So if someone... There's a difference between believing a woman culturally versus believing a woman legally. The law and our personal interactions are two separate things. So if the hashtag were hashtag immediately arrest any man and put him in jail for life if he's accused of, that would be a different story. Believe Women isn't saying throw due process out the window. Believe Women is saying if a woman comes to you, believe her story. It's not a statement that's directed at a judge and a jury. It's directed at culture at large. It's a movement to get women's concerns taken more seriously. If the hashtag were hashtag jury needs to vote guilty on every accusation case brought forward ever, that would be too long of a hashtag. And second of all, I would agree that would be throwing due process out the window. But in a lot of these cases, like in the case of Brett Kavanaugh, which you brought up, when women were coming forward with stories about him, it wasn't, their due process wasn't involved. It wasn't saying, I want Brett Kavanaugh to go to jail. It was, I want him not to be on the Supreme Court, which is entirely different because no one is entitled to being on the Supreme Court. If they were, the due process is not involved in that. It was essentially a job interview. And that's what, during the Democratic primary, I was saying the same thing about Joe Biden. When people were, like when Alyssa Milano, who was formerly a Me Too activist, I was so disappointed in her, guys, and I tweeted about this constantly. When Joe Biden was credibly accused of sexual assault, and Alyssa Milano, who was formerly at the front of the Me Too movement against people like Brett Kavanaugh as well, when she came forward and said, well, I think it's important that we don't throw due process out the window. She was saying kind of the shit Abby's saying, right? And I was like, none of us are saying we want Joe Biden in jail. We're just saying we don't want him to be president. And for everyone who's like, it's the same thing with Trump, y'all. I don't want him to be president. But here's the thing. Somehow, all these gross keep getting power, and it drives me insane, and I'm scared to be a woman, not just in America, I'm scared to be a woman in general. Throwing due process out the window has nothing to do with it. It's things like this that make me feel like, and it's not a right or left thing. I normally thought that, I guess, I wouldn't consider Democrats to be leftists, but that's a whole different story. But if a Democrat who would say, I believe that we should be fighting for women's rights, if someone says that and they're a Democrat, and then when the Democratic nominee for president gets accused of and suddenly they don't care anymore, that makes me scared as a woman. So this has nothing to do with political affiliation. I believe women and give them the benefit of the doubt. Now, if I were on a jury in a trial, I would look at what the evidence said. But when a woman is coming to me and telling me something, I have the right to say, yeah, if women are saying that this guy was being this way with them, I don't want him in power. And because due process is important, I don't think we necessarily need to go throw him right in jail. I just don't want him in charge of the country. There's middle ground between being in jail and being on the Supreme Court. There's middle ground, y'all.
If a man is accused of sex, it doesn't matter what the evidence says, he is guilty.
That's not what Believe All Women says, but we've already been over that.
Left used this as an axe to wield to force us into submission and make us feel like we had to agree or we would be bad people for doubting a woman's accusations. Now, let's look at the news today. Joe Biden is being accused by Tara Reid.
Yeah, okay. Abby, I might agree with you on this point. If you're going to say that Joe Biden is guilty, which you're probably, no, we're probably not going to agree because do you not believe Tara Reid? I believe her. I was tweeting hashtag I believe Tara Reid left and right for the past couple months and getting into Twitter fights with disgusting ass people who would get in my Twitter mentions being like, but it was just his, so it wasn't really. Is that really the hill you want to die on? If that's the hill you want to die on, I'm going to need you to reevaluate your motivations because there's no way you really believe that.
Tara Reid has come out and said that she believes that Biden sexually assaulted her. These same people who said hashtag believe all women are now saying we don't believe all women.
I wasn't one of them. I will agree that if Abby's talking about people like Alyssa Milano, yeah, she's trash. She's trash for this. I will never forgive her for what she did, abandoning a movement to believe women in favor of the presidential candidate that she was backing, especially because the primary was still going on and there was still a strong movement for Bernie. I will not forgive her for that. So Abby, if you're saying that people like Alyssa were hypocritical, 1000% agree. If you're saying feminists in general are hypocritical, I would ask you to re-examine. Because a lot of true feminists also believed the accusations against Joe Biden. We were consistent.
We side with Joe Biden. How crazy is that?
It's crazy. She's right that it's crazy. I think she's drawing the wrong conclusion from this, though. She's right that was a hypocritical move on some people's part. The conclusion from that shouldn't be, therefore, we shouldn't have believed either of these women. The conclusion should be, therefore, we should have believed both of these women. That's how I see it.
The goalposts move, or what are we doing here? As a woman, I look at this and I think to myself, I don't believe all women. I don't want to get rid of due process. And
due process wasn't part of this, though. Due process is a legal system, Abby. You're bringing in a different topic. Due process is a legal system. I don't want to get rid of due process either. But I also believe women. You can have both those things at the same time. If I were on a jury, I wouldn't go, #believe the plaintiff if she's a woman. No. That doesn't make sense in a court of law. But we're not talking about a court of law. We're talking about people not getting a certain government job. There's a middle ground. Joe Biden could just go retire and live his life. Due process doesn't have to get involved. Same thing with Brett Kavanaugh. Due process doesn't have to get involved. Just stop running my country when you're... So this video got me really fired up. Abby, and here's the thing. On a lot of Abby's videos, I feel like she's almost there. She's like, oh, she's almost there, guys. Like in this video, she's like, it was hypocritical to not believe Tara Reade when she accused Joe Biden after people believed Dr. Ford when she accused Brett Kavanaugh. And I was like, correct. And then she was like, and therefore, we shouldn't have believed either of them. And I was like, no, we should have believed both of them. You were so close, Abby. You were so close. And that's why, Abby, I want you on my channel to debate me, because I think we could hash this out, girl. I think we could. This is irrelevant of politics. True people who care about women's rights, true people who care about women's safety are concerned about Joe Biden as well. And if you, plenty of people are going to tell me, well, Trump is worse. Sure, I agree. Trump sucks. He's one of the most, like, I can't even go on about how dangerous he is. So that's not me saying don't choose Joe Biden over him when the time comes to vote. I'm not going to tell you how to vote. I'm just going to tell you that if Joe Biden does become president, continue the fight against his... Continue. Don't get complacent just because Trump's gone. Okay? Okay, guys? Because I'm scared of these powerful men who think they can get away with anything. Someone brought up to me that classically Abby does not like birth control, so I have decided I am going to watch her video. I searched for classically Abby birth control, and she came up with my birth control story. Well, I'll never take the pill again. I don't take the pill. I have an IUD. So I also don't take the pill. So let's hear Abby's thoughts on birth control. Someone was saying Abby doesn't believe in birth control. I gotta listen to what she has to say. I want to hear it straight.
hello, beautiful ladies, and welcome to today's video where we're going to be talking about my birth control story. So I have a lot of feelings about birth control. I don't think it's the naturally healthiest thing for a lot of women. I do think that there are some women who need hormonal regulation and the birth control pill can work wonders for them. But for me, it's not something that worked at all. It was
Okay, so from the start of this, she's saying that birth control is helpful for some women, but not for all women. And I've found that to be true. So far, I don't have any problem with what she's saying.
Actually very bad for me. And I tried 5 different times. So I know that birth control hormones can be problematic for a lot of different women, and I was one of them.
Okay, so it didn't work for her. I don't mind that it didn't work for her.
For those of you who do need to take birth control pills and it's good for your system because you have hormonal imbalances, fantastic. But I am not one of those women, and I think a lot of women aren't. And so I want to talk about why I think birth control is bad for your body if you're not in a situation where you need hormonal regulation, and why if you're not able to take the birth control pill, it doesn't actually make you less of a woman. Not at all.
Birth control can have negative effects on people's bodies. It can have a lot of problems. It can cause, hormonal imbalances, but for a lot of people, it doesn't cause any problems. And it also depends on which pill you take. There's tons of different varieties of pills you can take. There's tons of different birth control methods. So if she's talking about pills, then maybe if she tried 5 different pills and none of them worked for her, that's fine. Abby can do something else. Like, that's totally her prerogative. But for me, pills weren't the best for me. So I have an IUD now, and that works sort of better for me. It gives me horrible cramping, but as someone who's like, I'm definitively certain that I never want to be pregnant, you go the extra mile to be safe.
So I really want to talk about this. I think it's really an important topic that has been more on people's minds lately. So I thought I would share my story. Of course, I'm not a doctor, so I'm just saying what happened to me, why I feel this way.
I think the way she framed this is fine so far. She's like, I'm not a doctor. I appreciate that she acknowledges she's not a doctor and that she's just telling her own personal story. Good for you.
First time I tried to take birth control, I was 22 years old. And actually, my mom was the one who encouraged me to go on it for my skin. So I waited to have sex until I was married. So birth control really wasn't about that for me. It was about, theoretically, hormone regulation.
Is any of this video going to be about preventing pregnancy? Because I think, like, yes, hormone regulation and, you know, especially like for some women who their period is really intense and really painful, they might take birth control to make that easier on them. So those are definitely important reasons to take it. But if pregnancy is a big reason too, so if none of this was about preventing pregnancy, because that was the reason I took it, was to prevent pregnancy, because I never want to be pregnant. So I don't know if this video, I don't know.
Because my skin had gotten so bad. I used to have really bad skin. I'm going to see if I can find some pictures. Maybe I can put them up here, but I might not be able to.
That's her picture of her having really bad skin? Abby... What? That's really bad skin in your opinion? Your skin looks perfect in that picture. I'll just give her the benefit of the doubt and assume the pictures are just an unclear quality and that she actually did have bad skin.
I decided to start to go back on the pill because my husband and I were talking about getting engaged at the time. And I wanted to get my body ready before we did get married. I wanted to have all of these symptoms resolved before we got married, because they say it takes about 3 months for you to...
Okay, so from what I'm seeing here, Abby seems to have no problem with birth control for pregnancy use because that's what she was planning to do.
Figure out if the pill is going to work for you. So I went on just a progestin only pill.
I don't disagree with anything so far. I don't know if there's going to be something later in the video, but if Abby thinks birth control is fine to use for pregnancy, she doesn't always think it's safe, but that's really a thing to talk about with your doctor. I'm wondering what she does now though. If she'll never go on the pill again, is she just going to accept if she gets pregnant?
I haven't been on birth control now for a year and a half.
I'm glad that you're feeling better, but are you guys planning to have a baby? Are you like, what is your plan?
100% efficacy with my birth control. I don't need that. I'm married. My husband and I are happy. And if we were to get pregnant, then it's okay because we are set up for that. We're prepared.
Okay. Well, that's okay. So you're just willing to risk pregnancy. That's fine for you. For other women who don't want to risk pregnancy, you can get an IUD, you can get, I think there's like an arm implant you can get, you can see, I mean, if you know for certain you never want kids, see if your husband wants a vasectomy. Like, there are so many options. Or you could just use a condom. Those can break, so you want to be extra careful, but guys, safe sex is important. If you're okay with getting pregnant like Abby is, then that's fine. You do you. Like she said, she's in a position where that's fine. So good for you, Abby. But don't follow this advice if you don't want to get pregnant. Just because you're in a financially stable place and because you're in a stable marriage doesn't necessarily mean that it's the right time to have kids, or maybe never is the right time to have kids. Like for me, I never want to be pregnant and have kids. I'm married. I own a home with my husband. We're in a stable relationship. We're both gainfully employed. Everything's great. But neither of us have any interest in having kids. So we try to protect against that.
Having sex with one man, with my husband, and if there was to be a surprise, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. It would actually be a miracle. And I think...
Okay, so you're saying you want kids. Okay, so that's different. That's different from someone who doesn't want kids.
That's part of it, is that if you are having sex in a committed marriage, then you don't have to worry in the same way.
No! Abby, you lost me. Okay, guys, I was getting through a whole Classically Abby video being like, yes, what she's saying here makes sense. You know, what she's saying here is true. She's sharing her own experience, and this is a thing that we can talk about. I think we should talk about the side effects of birth control, and I think we should, yes! I was like, good for you! But now she's like, well, if you're married, if you waited till you were married to have sex with a man, then It's fine if you get pregnant. No, Abby, it's not fine for everybody. What about women who have health issues that having a baby would permanently damage their body? What about women who are at risk of death in childbirth? What about women who are like 45 years old and are concerned, like a pregnancy would pose a high risk to their body? What about women who just don't want to go through a pregnancy? What about a couple that isn't in a place where they would feel comfortable raising a kid? There's so many factors here. Just because you're married doesn't mean it's okay. It doesn't mean pregnancies that wouldn't be the best situation for the parents or for the child.
That something horrible will happen. So thank God I've gotten off birth control, but there's a lot of issues with birth control outside of my story. So I did want to mention a few of those. One of the things is that a lot of young women are put on birth control for their hormonal regulation and for their skin, and they don't know how they are reacting to it. And if you're put on birth control during puberty, when your body is changing, you may not know that you're having anxiety attacks or depression because of your birth control. You may.
So I agree and disagree. I think it's important. I think it's good to know that that could be a side effect, so that if, like, let's say there's like a 16-year-old girl who's put on birth control because she's having terrible period cramps and it's just making her life miserable. So she gets put on birth control and it helps with that, but it gives her an anxiety attack. It's good that you know that you could have an anxiety attack from that so that you can talk to your doctor. And then your doctor can try something new with you. So it's important to know that, but I wouldn't say that's a reason not to do it. Because for some people, those hormonal issues can be so debilitating. So I would say that that's not a reason entirely not to go on it, but it is a thing you should be aware of before you start. Sure.
May assume that's just kind of who you are and what you do naturally. And that's why I think it's so important, if you're going to try birth control, to do it after you know how you react just to life normally. If you have low levels of anxiety and you're put on birth control and all of a sudden your anxiety spikes, you'll recognize it. But if you've never had anxiety before and you're going through puberty and you're young, all of a sudden you think that's your normal, and it may not be. So I was really lucky because when I went on birth control, I knew that wasn't my normal, and so I could be like, okay, I shouldn't be on this. But if you're young, you don't know. And that's really scary. And you may end up suffering with depression and anxiety.
Okay, so that's a reason to talk to a doctor. Again, it's on the one hand, I'm glad that she's like bringing up these issues because these are important things to talk about. And because we've lived in a culture that has repressed people talking about their bodies and their reproductive organs and things like that, as a result, a lot of times people aren't open to talk about these things and the potential side effects. So I think it's good that she's bringing up these concerns, but she should be like, that's a reason to talk to your doctor about it, to bring up these concerns with your doctor. If these things happen, see about switching things. But for some women, like, the side effects aren't as bad as the thing it's curing for, if that makes sense.
For years without even realizing that that is why. So that's why I'm not a proponent of it for young women. The other thing is that birth control can actually change who you're attracted to. So
what? Abby, you lost me. You better have a source for this, Abby. You better have a source. I'm gonna need to see a peer-reviewed study on this because that is the wildest thing I've ever heard.
So what birth control does is it makes your body think you're pregnant. So you look for men who are caretakers, not men who can make the baby. And so what will happen for a lot of women is they'll actually marry a guy who's more of a caretaker because they were on birth control when they met him, which isn't a bad thing. But then when they go off birth control because they want to start a family, they find that they're less attracted to their husbands. And then they want to get back on birth control so that they are.
What? What? Abby, are you about to tell me about men who are alpha and beta? Are you about to tell me about the chads and the virgins? Like, this is pseudoscience, dude. Unless you have a source. If you have a source, I'll believe you. But men who are caretakers versus men who are fertile? So then in that case, by your logic, men who come across as caretakers, women who are looking to become pregnant in the first place wouldn't be attracted to them if they were not on birth control. So then how do those men ever get to be dads? How did the human race evolve so that those men could continue existing if being a caretaker is some kind of biological pheromonial thing? What the fuck are you talking? What? If anyone knows what the she's talking about. Link me a source in the comments below, because this is the weird. I've never heard anything like this before.
Hey, editing savvy here. So I went and looked up a source for this whole concept of does birth control change your attraction to people, and what I found is that it's like has to do with like if your body is looking like evolutionary wise, if your body's looking for someone who will get you pregnant, then you'll be attracted to someone whose scent is more genetically different from yours. This happens, I don't know. There's a couple studies that were done on this. I can link them in the description below. So to an extent, what she's saying, she didn't just pull out of her ass, but the concept of like men being caretakers and men being alphas or men being the guy who will get you, like, I haven't found anything about that. That's sounded like pseudoscience to me, and I'm pretty sure still is. I'll link this in the description below. One study that I'm reading right now says women who are attracted to men who are not on birth control tend to be attracted to the scent of men who are genetically different from them, but women who are on the pill are attracted to the scent of men who are more genetically similar. And then I think there was actually a follow-up done in 2018 that I was also finding where I was looking for this that said that birth control does, like, in the follow-up that they found that it didn't actually change it much in any significant ways. Like, the first one suggested it might, and then after that they were like, it's kind of negligible. The results weren't. So it kind of, like, I just want to say I see where she's coming from, and I think that she didn't make this up. But at the same time, it's, like, not totally real. So I just I'll link everything in the description. You guys can do further reading if you want.
But there's that caretaker part that you're more attracted to than the masculine part.
Can you define what masculine means to you?
And so birth control messes with you mentally, emotionally, intellectually, physically. It can be a really big problem.
Okay, Abby, that was the wildest thing I've ever heard.
The first thing I want to talk about is something that is not really appropriate, and what I would say is definitely not classic. So the first thing I want to mention is the new music video. It's really dirty, and it's disgusting. That song is, it's pretty gross. I heard about it through Twitter, mostly because my brother did a censored reading of some of the lyrics.
Yeah, you effin' with some wet-ass P-word. P-word is female genitalia. Bring a bucket and a mop for this wet-ass P-word. Give me everything you got for this wet-ass P-word. Yeah, you effin' with some wet-ass P-word.
And I respected him for that. I see it as the degradation of women, that we think that that is our value, to sing about this very horribly written lyrics, to be honest. I mean, every time I listen to it, I get...
What do you mean every time you listen to it? Why did you listen to it more than once?
Also, it's not really music.
It's not... There we go. Abby's like, I'm a classical musician, I'm a classical opera singer, and therefore I am the gatekeeper on what is and isn't music. I am the authority. I am the music police. I am the music daddy. Music is what I say it is. Music you don't like is still music. You're not the music police. Okay? I am 1,500% sure this video is going to get demonetized, so I want to give an extra special thanks to my Patreon supporters. This video was brought to you by them because after all of the inappropriate things I talked about in this video, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be monetized for this or make any ad revenue, which sucks because I have a feeling this video is going to be kind of long. But thank you so much to all my Patreon supporters. You guys are wonderful. Really, really appreciate your support and you helping me make this channel possible. If you guys want to support this video's most likely outcome of demonetization, then please check out the description below where the Patreon is linked. My book #Savvy Business Owner is now available for pre-order. Please check that out in the description below. I'm going to be planning a launch party soon. I will see y'all again soon, but in the meantime, don't forget to support small businesses. Happy Friday, friends!
Yeah, you effin' with some wet-ass P-word.
There was lots of memes.
P-word is female genitalia.
Makes me wonder if I should take up lesbianism.
Yeah, you effin'
You guys asked for
with some wet-ass P-word.